Hello, you're listening to Metal Verbalizers, and I am Johan, and today I will verbalize the band Inhuman Nature. Inhuman Nature is a 4-piece thrash metal band from London, UK. The band was founded in 2017, and to kind of summarize their overall sound, I think, a band that really came to mind to me when I kind of thought about it and tried to analyze it a little bit, and when I heard it a little bit the first time actually, and that was Power Trip. I think Inhuman Nature has sort of a kind of crossover sound a little bit to them, but it's not, like Municipal Waste or Toxic Holocaust or DRI or something like that, Not that kind of like more pure crossover punk sound, but no, I think Power Trip is a pretty good example. Just to be kind of clear here, on kind of a side note, that when I say that Inhuman Nature sounds like Power Trip, I don't mean that they're like an obvious copy of Power Trip. Like you can hear clear differences between Power Trip and Inhuman Nature in their sound, obviously. But there is definitely some similarities in kind of overall sound that at least I think personally is pretty clear when I heard it. Even when I like listened to Inhuman Nature and listened to a little bit of Power Trip after that. Even then, I like pretty clearly heard some similarities there. But also, a band like Inhuman Nature, you can definitely clearly hear some like old school thrash metal influences there as well. A lot in kind of like the riffing and kind of how the riffs sounds a little bit. I can definitely hear some old school stuff, like bands such as Exodus, the real like old school stuff basically. But yeah, that I think that sums up in a very general way, kind of give you a little bit idea sort of how Inhuman Nature sounds, I think. But anyway, in 2017, which again was the same year that they were founded, they also released their first demo, which was titled Other Realms. And after that, they were pretty quick in 2018 to release a single, which was titled Taste of Steel. And it took until the next year until a new single came out, which was titled Satan's Claw in 2019. And then the same year in 2019, they also released their debut full-length album, which is a self-titled, which is obviously called Inhuman Nature. Also, something I could mention here a little quick is that both the song Taste of Steel, which was a single in 2018, and Satan's Claw from 2019 can also be found on the band's debut full-length. And something that I thought was pretty interesting that happened after that was that Inhuman Nature also released a live album titled Live at the Dev in 2020. And I think I've kind of mentioned this earlier in earlier episodes, that things like live albums and what is it called? Bootlegs was what I was gonna say. Isn't super common when it comes to like newer bands. I think it's way more common with like demos and like EPs and full lengths and stuff like that. But live albums isn't really that common, which I personally, from my perspective, I think it's a little bit sad that isn't more common. So I would definitely like to take the opportunity now to really thank Inhuman Nature for doing that, to release a live album. Because personally, I really like live albums and wish that more bands would do it than what it is right now. Especially newer bands, really, because kind of how uncommon it actually seems to be. I really wish it were more common, because I mean, I could go in and pretty much talk in its own episode about what's so great about live albums, but live albums is really special. Even like, you know, going to a show is obviously very special, but also having like a live album is also a little bit different. And you know, some bands tend to play a little bit faster live, and it's just overall it's another approach, you know, and kind of how it sounds and just how it overall feels is very different. So it's really cool to have a live album with pretty much any band, really. You know, if it's old school, if it's newer, like that doesn't really matter. It's always kind of cool to hear that kind of live approach. So basically, I think just as a conclusion, to summarize that, I think more newer bands should release live albums. But after the live album, also in 2020, by the way, Inhuman Nature also released a split together with the band Road Mutant. And then it took 2 years in 2022 until Inhuman Nature released an EP, which was titled Under the Boot. Something else I could kind of like talk about when it comes to Inhuman Nature is the covers of their releases. And kind of like start with the Other Realms. It's like kind of looks sort of like a painting style, you know, with like a big hill with corpses and stuff lying on it. With like a big muscular dude with a big sword standing on top, with like a orange-red portal behind him. So like it looks really dark, and like, I don't know, it looks really cool to me. And it's like dark clouds and stuff like that. I know, like if I would like have seen that, I would kind of like kind of guessed that it was either something like I don't know, it's something with it kind of has a little black metal type visual to it, in my opinion, which I mean I guess kind of goes to the Taste of Steel, which has like a bunch of blade weapons on it, like axes and I believe it's like a morning stars and stuff like that. You know, the kind of like morning star with like the stick and a chain, and then the ball with spikes and stuff. So you know, that's also, I don't know, I think bladed weapons and stuff like that is really common in, like, you know, black metal and black thrash also, to a certain extent. But that's something also I believe I've said a few times before, but I think I kind of want to say it again, that I really like the kind of like simplistic design. When it comes to like album covers, I like a lot of types of covers, but something I really like is kind of like simplistic approach and design, which I think Taste of Steel is an example of that, which I think looks absolutely great. And kind of speaking about that as well, I could mention Satan's Claw, which is basically the logo, like font like Satan's Claw, and then like very dark looking claw to kind of a little bit to the side, and then it's like black background, which again, that's also kind of an example of just simplistic, straight to the point, just overall great in my opinion. And then for the self-titled full length, it's quite different. It's I assume it's supposed to kind of be the same muscular dude with a sword and like kind of classical revealing medieval armor, which kind of can be seen in many album covers when it comes to metal. He also has like a skull with like a large black hood and stuff, which I'm gonna take a guess here because he's also like holding the muscular dude's shoulder, and I believe that is actually the picture on the single Satan's Claw. It kind of looks like it could be. But anyway, it's a great cover, and something that I think is really interesting here is that the band decided to not include the band's logo in this album cover. I think that's a little bit interesting. I'm not entirely sure what the decision was behind that, but it's a pretty interesting choice. It's the same on the demo actually. That doesn't have the band logo either. Well, maybe I don't have to like go through all the album covers, but that's at least some of them, and kind of a little bit of comments that I had on them, and kind of what I liked, etc. Because I think that Inhuman Nature definitely has a lot of great covers, and it's, well, actually, I guess I could also say that there isn't really any, or there isn't any of their covers that I don't like. So definitely great covers overall. Again, as I kind of mentioned, it's a little bit interesting, not strange necessarily, but interesting rather, that they chose to not include the band's logo on the self-title and the demo. But anyway, I guess that kind of makes it time to wrap things up. I appreciate you listening, and if you like this episode, make sure to follow Metal Verbalizers, and we will give you more tips like this. If this episode results in you checking this band out, then please tag us and let them know that we send you to them. We would appreciate it a lot, and we will be back to you soon with another Verbalization.